Hey, what's up, YouTube? How's you talks back at it out here in the wood shop? Couple things, couple headlines I want to talk about briefly tonight. Should be a quicker video. Made a few notes here. As you can see, if you've been following, my voice is getting steadily stronger. So, actually feeling pretty happy about that. I think I'm gonna make a full recovery, obviously. Sorry, I just ate dinner, full. But yeah, so it's starting to look up. Here we go. Let's dive right in. First thing I want to talk about today is the Border Patrol agent who shot, the Border Patrol agents who breached the door and shot the kid who was shooting at the school. I want to say bravo to those men and women. I don't exactly know what their gender was. I did just see one of them on the Laura Ingraham show or something. The guy who actually killed the kid, and he was definitely a man. Also, his wife is a teacher at the school, and his daughter attended the school in the 2nd grade. So it made sense that he was there. I saw that he was down the street getting a haircut when his wife called him and said that there was an active shooter and she needed help. And he took a shotgun from the barber shop where he was and ran down the street and entered the school. And then as far as I know, him and, from what I read this morning, him and 2 other Border Patrol agents, with the BORAC, whatever that means, border or something, I don't know what it was. Him and 2 other Border Patrol agents with a body shield that was lent to them by a U.S. Marshal, breached the door, and the kid came out of the closet firing, and they were able to neutralize him. So bravo to that branch of law enforcement. You know, it's such a tragedy. It's hard to see anything. You know, it's hard to see anything positive with the fact that 19 children and 2 adults were killed. But it could have been worse. It could have been 25 children or 35 children or whatever. Who knows how long it would have taken the actual police department to enter the room. And you know, there were alive kids in the room with him, and the dude was barricaded or in the closet. He could have come out of that closet at any point and shot everybody else, that was in the room that was alive. But I wonder how many that is. But with that said, I also saw this morning, I don't know if you guys watch it, but you really should watch it. It's amazing how the media gets us with this kind of thing. All anybody can talk about is this shooting, is how tragic the shooting was in Texas, and how terrible the shooting in Buffalo was last week. And agreed. I'm not trying to make light of them. But while you're watching these, watch the ticker that runs under the media, under the screen, at the bottom of the screen. Why they're going over the things that they're I'm gonna call them scripts, but they're scripted talking points that they have to report on. Watch the ticker go by and look at the travesties and the tragedies that are happening in your cities every day that just go unnoticed. Literally yesterday, I'm sitting there watching, it was on Monday actually, because we were off, and on Monday I'm drinking my coffee, and the news is playing, the news was on, and it was playing, it was giving off information about the shooting in Texas, and scrolling on the bottom of the screen, the closest city to where I live is Philadelphia, that and or New York. We live in an area that there's not much crime, and there's not much going on here. There's not that giant of a population. We don't really have any news crews in this area. So we watch typically Philadelphia news because that's where we moved from, was outside of Philadelphia. That's what we're used to. But we could just as easily watch New York news, and it would be exactly the same what I'm describing. Watch the ticker though. So while I'm listening to this thing unfold about what's happening in Texas, or what happened in Texas, scrolling across the screen, you've got like man and 9-year-old son shot to death in a drive-by shooting in I don't know, a small town in Philadelphia. I don't know what it's called. It wasn't Kensington, but it was something like that. And then another one. 3 people shot. 3 people shot, at this location. And then another one pops up. Man gunned down in the Fishtown area of Philadelphia. And then you see, an assault on this person, in this vicinity. It's like, it's nonstop. There's nothing but violence out there happening, especially in the cities, just happening constantly. And it goes unnoticed. Nobody talks about it, Like the big story are these mass shootings. And granted, they should be a big story, but more people will die this year at the hands of gun violence in Chicago. No, actually, more people, I'll go on to say this, more people will die this summer at the hands of gun violence in Chicago than all mass school shootings combined in the history of public school systems. Nobody cares. Crickets, right? Crickets. But here we are. It's got to be the AR-15, the AR-15's fault. I don't want to do another thing on guns, I really don't. It's just, it's funny the way that it goes back to, what it always goes back to blame, The gun is at fault. Not the kid. Not that the kid was walking around with a bag full of dead cats or some shit. Like, there was clearly some mental health things going on, So yeah, but the police are no longer cooperating with the Justice Department. I thought that was interesting. I didn't even know that was a possibility. I didn't even know that there's an option for the police department to just go, nah, you know what? We're not going to answer any more questions about this. Like, their account of what actually took place is so far off. I mean, I guess they're trying to prevent perjury at this point, right? Like, because what they can say can be used against them in the court of law, and they must have attorneys, and the attorneys are saying, listen, you guys need to shut up now. You've done enough. You did so little. You did so little during this crisis that you've done enough. I guess that's where we're at. So here was big news yesterday. I was going to report it, but I didn't have enough things to go over, so I didn't. So in the midst of talk of banning assault weapons here in America, because assault weapons are the thing. They're to blame for all these issues. Canada made the bold move to try and ban all handguns, just out of the blue. That, my friends, is authoritarianism at its best, or at the heart, right? He just like, this dude, Trudeau, just out of the blue, he's just like, yo, yeah, no more handguns, no more 38s, no more Berettas, no more Glocks. Like, why? Like, that's wild. They already have strict-ass gun regulation in Canada. They're not dealing with any mass shootings themselves. And I thought everybody agreed that the assault rifles were the problem. And now he's just gonna ban handguns? It's wild. All right, next big thing, and this will be pretty quick, but it's unfolding, and you're gonna see it. It's gonna happen. We're already like we're like, this has been like 2 years of like basically hell, right? We went through COVID, which coincidentally we're going through COVID again, but the government's too afraid to do anything about it now. I mean, you know, I don't really know what the numbers are because I don't think that really, no one's pushing testing and no one's tracking it anymore because it's an election time and they don't want the government doesn't want to make any moves. The Democrats especially don't want to make any moves and have any shutdowns or like anything like that, because if they do, it's going to, people are going to get mad and it's going to hurt them in the polls and hurt them at the voter booths. So they're just burying their head in the sand and they're just like, whatever, we'll see how this plays out. I don't know for sure, but like what I can tell you is some people that I work with, two different trades in the last week, both had outbreaks of COVID. I wasn't really with either party to like be exposed. I spoke to them on the phone and through text message, but my electrician had him and 3 of his guys all had COVID, and my fiberglass guy, him and his wife and their kids and some other guys that they worked with, they all had COVID. So, you know, it's around. So, you know, yeah, 2 years of hell. You had the lockdowns, you had COVID, you had small businesses shuttering and shut down and not being able to operate and going out of business. Meanwhile, big businesses, box stores, largest corporations in America all did very, very well. The American people have been living through, you know, like divorce rates are at an all-time high. Birth rates are at an all-time low. By the way, not to add any conspiracy gasoline to the fire here, but the last time we had lockdown, no, we haven't had lockdowns before, but what I can tell you is traditionally in America, whenever there's some kind of event where people are locked in the house for any length of time, there's usually a spike in the birth rates. And like it's substantial. Like, you know, like my daughter who just had the twins, she's a product of the blizzard of 1996 because we got over 2 foot of snow and everybody was locked in the house for 5 days. And, you know, like if you're locked in the house, what are you gonna do? Like, you know, you can only eat so much, there's only so much TV you can watch. So you gotta do something else. And anyway, without getting into too much detail, there's always a spike in births during, you know, during events where people are trapped in the house for any length of time. And we were locked in our houses for a year and a half. And instead of there being a spike in the birth rates, there's actually a decline in the birth rates. And I wonder what the cause of that is, you know? I wonder, like, I mean, the only thing that's changed that I know of is people altered their DNA during this time period, you know? People all got like first and second and boosters and whatnot, and they altered their DNA. And now we have declining birth rates. It's really bizarre. But anyway, with that said, two really tough years. Economy tanked. Economy is tanking again currently. It's actually going to tank worse than probably. This is going to be a pretty bad one. I have a feeling. You know, I'm a little nervous about it because I'm self-employed. You know, I own my own business, and my only saving grace is I live in an area that has a lot of wealth, and most of the people around me that live in this area where I work are sort of above that median income that will be affected by a recession. They're kind of like, yeah, they'll all do the right thing and they'll stop eating out 5 days a week. No, they'll only eat out maybe 3 days a week, and they'll eat in 1 day a week. You know, they won't redo a bathroom every 3 years. They might wait 5 years. They're not going to redo their kitchen this summer. They're going to redo their kitchen next summer. They're going to, you know, they're going to let things stabilize before they go blowing a bunch of money. But, you know, I live in an area where people will drop $150,000 in their backyard like for new outdoor kitchen and a patio and stuff and a swimming pool. Like it's nothing. Like it's just what people do. So I hope that and feel like it will be okay. I don't think it's going to be a banging year like the last 2 years have been during COVID and post-COVID, but I think that we'll do all right. All right, Jamie Dimon, he's like the CEO or something for, I don't know if it's Chase Morgan or if it's Citibank. But he's come out today or yesterday and said that our economy is about to run through a hurricane. Well, I never heard of any hurricanes being a good thing. So I'm going to take that at face value and assume he means that our economy is about to go through a terrible time. Right? And, you know, he's if you will, in the know. He knows what's going on. They're the ones that they're one of the people that when the Federal Reserve prints $1 trillion, he's the one with his hand out. You know what I mean? His bank that he runs, or banking system that he runs, is one of the banks on the receiving end of those tens of billions of dollars every time the Federal Reserve just prints more money. So if something's happening in Wall Street and with the economy, he's surely in on it. And to back that up, Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, came out today and said, we made a mistake. We were wrong on inflation. Go figure. They were wrong in inflation. Guess what? It's not transitory. Guess what? It's not going to be like a non-issue. It's pretty substantial. It's a pretty serious thing. You know, the highest inflation in 50 years. And that's what's recorded. It's probably the highest inflation almost ever at this point. You know, the way that they fudge their numbers, you never know for sure what we're really looking at. You know, because remember, like early or in the summer last year, was it the 4th of July? Was your it was cheaper for your 4th of July get together by 16 cents than it was the previous year, which is bullshit. You know, I actually looked at those numbers and the prices of the stuff that they were comparing them to, and none of that was true. They basically took the sale ads, is what they did, and just put a string of sale ads together and showed you, yeah, if you run around to 19 different stores, you could technically save 16 cents on your party this year if you buy the same food that you bought last year. But yeah, so when the Treasury Secretary comes out and Jamie Dimon, one of the large banking guys, comes out on the same day and they start telling you, yo, it's not looking good. It looks like it's going to get worse. And you know, of course, the president has already been on TV saying that it's going to hurt some people. No shit. And now I'm starting to see little tidbits, little writings about how like different housing markets in different towns are they're not even saying that they're crashing. What they're saying is it went from being a seller's market to now becoming a buyer's market in several towns. And then I saw another thing today that said, is Austin's housing market about to dry up? You know, the construction and work about to dry up. Well, what that means is that the demand has been substantially diminished for new houses or for houses in general. And most of that is probably because the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates 3 times already this year, and they're gonna raise them a total of 5 times this year. So every time they raise interest rates, that's less and less people that will consider buying a house because of the interest rate, because it's, you know, it's a 30-year mortgage that you're invested in. And, you know, my interest rate on this house is like 3.25%, you know, but right now the market's dictating it's like 5.5% for new mortgages. That's going to go up till probably by the end of the year, you're going to be up to 6 to 6.5%, which is wild to me because my first house I ever bought was in the late 90s, and it was, or real early 2000s, and my mortgage and my interest rate then was like 7.5%, and that was super high. But I know in the late 80s and early 90s, we went through a period of time where interest rates were like 15 and 16% on mortgages, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I can't even imagine but at the same time, housing prices were very, very low. So most of your money that you paid out each month was more to cover interest than it was to pay your principal on the house. But it looks like that's the direction that we're heading. So be on the lookout for them to start talking about us being in a housing crisis.